Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 This morning we're reading from Srimadbhagavatam. Third canto, status quo, chapter 45, the glories of devotional service. We're on text 36. Grandson, you want to try to chant along with him? It's an ancient language of Sanskrit. So what we do is we chant the verse. I chant the first line, and then everybody repeats. Like that. So it's call and response. Darshaniya Vayavar Udara. Darshaniya Vayavar Vilasahase Shitavama Suktai. Anahita Pranam Shabakir Anichito Negatim Navim Prayute Darshaniya Vayavar Udara Vilasahase Varyavar Udara Vilasaha Sekshitavama Suktaye Shritatmano Hrita Pradangscha Bhaktir Anichchato Megatim Anvim Prayukte
Darshaniya Vayavar Udara Vilashaha Shikitavama Suktai Atmano Vritta Pranamscha Bhaktir Anichito Megatim Andam Prayunkte Darshaniya Vayavar Udara Vilashaha Shekshitavama Suktai Atmano Vritta Pranamscha Bhaktir Anichito Megatim Andam Prayukte.
By those forms, Darshaniya, charming, Avayavai, whose limbs, Udara, exalted, Vilasa, pastimes, Hasa, smiling, Ikshita,
Ikshata,
glances.
glances.
Vama,
Vama,
pleasing.
pleasing.
Shukti,
Shuktai,
whose delightful words.
with delightful words.
Rita,
Rita,
captivated.
captivated.
Atmanaha,
Atmanaha,
their minds.
their mind.
Rita,
Rita,
captivated.
captivated.
Pranan,
Prana,
their senses.
their senses.
Cha,
Cha,
and
and
Bhakti,
bhakti,
devotional service.
devotional service.
Anicshataha,
Anichataha,
unwilling.
unwilling.
May,
May,
my.
my.
Gatim,
Gatim,
abode.
abode.
Unmim,
Unmute,
subtle.
so,
Prayumte,
priyumte,
secures.
secures.
Translation. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. Purport. There are three divisions of devotees: first class, second class, and third class. Even the third class devotees are liberated souls. It is explained in this verse that although they do not have knowledge, simply by seeing the beautiful decoration of the deity in the temple, the devotee is absorbed in thought of him and loses all of their consciousness. Simply by fixing oneself in Krishna consciousness, engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, one is imperceptibly liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Simply by discharging uncontaminated devotional service as prescribed in the scriptures, one becomes equal to Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. This means that the living entity in his original state is Brahman because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. But simply because of his forgetfulness of his real nature as an eternal servitor of the Lord, he is overwhelmed and captured by Maya. His forgetfulness of his real constitutional position is Maya. Otherwise, he is eternally Brahman. When one is trained to become conscious of his position, he understands that he is the servitor of the Lord. Brahman refers to a state of self-realization. Even the third-class devotee, who is not advanced in knowledge of the absolute truth, but simply offers obeisances with great devotion, thinks of the Lord, sees the Lord in the temple, and brings forth flowers and fruits to offer to the deity, becomes imperceptibly liberated. Shraddhayan Vitaha. With great devotion, the devotees offer worshipful respects and paraphernalia to the deity. The deities of Radha and Krishna and Lakshmi Narayan and Ram Sita are very attractive to devotees, so much so that when they see the statue decorated in the temple of the Lord, they become fully absorbed in thought of the Lord. That is the state of liberation. In other words, it is confirmed herewith that even a third-class devotee is in the transcendental position, above those who are trying for liberation by speculation or by other methods. Even great impersonalists like Shukadev Goswami and the four Kumaras were attracted by the beauty of the deities in the temple, by the decorations, and by the aroma of tulsi offered to the Lord, and they became devotees. Even though they were in the liberated state, instead of remaining impersonalists, they were attracted by the beauty of the Lord and became devotees. Here the word vilas is very important. Vilas refers to the activities or pastimes of the Lord. It is prescribed duty in temple worship that not only should one visit the temple to see the deity nicely decorated, but at the same time he should hear the recitation of srimadbhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some similar literature, which is regularly recited in the temple. It is a system in Vrindavan that in every temple there is a recitation of the Shastras, scriptures. Even third-class devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way their minds may remain always absorbed in thought of the Lord, His form, His activities, and His transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated stage. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 important processes in the discharge of devotional service. 1. To chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To associate with the devotees and serve them as far as possible. 3. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4. To see the decorated temple and the deity, and if possible. 5. To live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That third-class devotees can also imperceptibly achieve liberation is accepted in all Vedic literatures.
Omnigyanativadandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshalanvaditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Kartivachalam Bhangam Mangaite Girim Yakripatam Handande Shri Gurunditanam Bancha Kapdribishta Kripasnibevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So yeah, Prabhupada's talking about in the purport the first class, second class, third class devotees, and the first class devotee, the Uttamadhikari, says that the devotee of God, the servant of God, the God-realized person, says that he sees Krishna or God everywhere. In other words, he sees everybody connected, everything and everyone connected with God. Everything reminds him of God, right? Krishna. So, the example's given of like a parent. So the parent, if someone has a child, the parent, they may see the little shoe of the boy or the girl, right? Of their boy or girl. And when they see that shoe, and the boy or girl's, whatever, at their in-laws' house or whatever, and they think, oh, my little Tommy or whatever, or my little Mary, and they remember the child, They don't see a shoe. Somebody else, they just see a shoe. Oh, okay, big deal, it's just a shoe, right? So what? What are you getting all emotional about, man? Wake up, But the parent sees, oh, this is my child's shoe, And sometimes they keep things like my mother has, she doesn't have a lot of stuff from our childhood, but she has, for example, some of the books that our favorite books when we were children, when we were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. She has some of our favorite books, whatever they are. And she looks at the books, and it's not like, oh, it's just some books, it's just some random books. But she looks at all these books. Oh, this is my son, and he used to love this book, and then she, oh, this is my daughter, and like that. Similarly, one who's in love with Krishna, or a pure devotee of Krishna, pure devotee of God, then they'll see everything in relation like that, so they won't forget Krishna. And those with a little less, you could say, love, the second class, is that they see, they have perception of where people are, in relation to their spiritual advancement and so on. So it said in the 11th, this is all quoting from the 11th canto, descriptions. So 11th canto explains that the Madhyamadhikari, or the middle devotee, they see Krishna, they see God, and they try to offer all their love to Krishna. And they see the devotees, the servants of God, and they try to make friendships. And they see innocent people, they try to give them mercy, right? Mercy of Krishna, knowledge. And they see the envious, right? And they avoid them. Because envious people who aren't interested in spiritual life, if we speak too much with them, then what will happen is they'll actually create more offenses. Because by nature, the very nature of their mentality is offensive, in the sense that they may hate the idea of God, or they may hate the idea of spiritual life, this and that. So it's an offensive mentality. Just like if I hated Zach, right? And I say, oh, I hate you, and this and that. So it's offensive mentality. I'm offending his person, right? So if we get in contact with someone and they're offending our particular faith or our tradition or our the very thing we live by, then it's like, okay, then kind of what's the point of talking with them to try to help them? Because if we continue speaking with them, they'll just become more offensive, right? They'll become more offensive, that's what they do. So they avoid those people. And the other devotee, they see that God, but they only see God in the temple, and they don't see God anywhere else, and they don't know how to deal. They don't know how to deal with devotees and other practitioners, and they don't really have a sense, who's devotee, who's not a devotee, and it's a little bit of a confused. But they're dedicated to the deity, dedicated to God in the form of the deity. And all these different stages, they're all depending on, they're all viewed in the sense of where someone is determined on, one thing that determines it is their scriptural knowledge. Their scriptural knowledge. And of course, with knowledge means not just facts and figures, but means reading, hearing the knowledge, and then applying it in one's life, and then experiencing the results of that. So the third class devotee, they don't have the knowledge, and whatever they may have, they're trying to apply, and they're getting some result, but they don't have much knowledge. The Madhyamadikari has more knowledge, but still the faith isn't super strong, and still that knowledge is not completely developed, and he can be defeated by others. He may be defeated by others, right? Who are more expert. But the Uttamadikari, then they cannot. They have a scriptural knowledge to a large degree, and their faith is really strong. They can't be swayed. So the Madhyamadikari, they could actually be swayed. They could be swayed into something else. So the idea is we want to, reach more and more and more towards that stage, towards the higher stages of faith in Krishna and knowledge of Scripture, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavat Purana, so on. But even Srila Prabhupada says that, but even though someone may be not super advanced, he's making the point here that they're imperceptibly liberated. They're imperceptibly liberated. And that association with the process of Krishna consciousness is extremely powerful, and one may not see the advancement that they're making, or they may not understand how far they have gone, but they have made progress, and they've made a lot of progress in comparison to probably most people they know, family, friends, so on. And that they may have imperfections, in most cases that's absolutely true, but they can't, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the end of the day, they cannot forget God. Whereas other people, family, friends, this and that, their whole life is forgetting God. Not everybody, but a lot of people. They cannot remember. Even devotees try to forget Krishna, even devotees try to forget God. You could say, oh, I'm so imperfect, and I got so many problems, but still it all kind of like goes back to Krishna. You're like, all right, well, Krishna, Krishna, and you keep it. It's there. So the Krishna consciousness is there. It's not that we really forget. I mean, of course we do sometimes, but the point is we're always coming back. And that always returning back to Krishna, right? We're always, sometimes we We're God conscious, we're Krishna conscious, but then we fall off. We kind of get into some weird thought processes, some weird type of illusory hallucinations, right? Materialistic mindsets like that. Anger, envy, greed, whatever it may be, selfishness. But the more we're chanting Krishna's names, the more we're chanting God's names, we go back to Krishna. And we keep on going back. It's the principle, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's saying, right? When the mind wanders, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. So the point is, eventually, the gaps of forgetfulness that we have, it becomes less and less and less and less and less. So we start off usually forgetting all these spiritual things, like that's all of our time. But then the time becomes less and less and less in which we're fully conscious. So that's what we want, to be conscious. So in relation to the deities, within America and all over the world, like I was saying in previous talk, that deity worship is not common. And in some cases, people think it's completely ludicrous, and people think it's evil, actually. And that you would carve a statue of someone or something, and you would worship it. But according to this particular ancient spiritual text, Srimad Bhagavatam, and this particular tradition, is that our material eyes cannot perceive spirit. We cannot perceive spirit at the present moment. So we're just seeing matter. You see the table, you see the body, you see everything matter. Just matter everywhere. Spirit. So where's God, right? You could say, oh, God's everywhere. But if there's a personality of God, if there's an actual God, the person with the spiritual form, like in the Bible, right? It says, man was made in the image of God. That must mean God has a similar image. Or just like, I am the son of Vincent Formicola, my dad. He has a body. He has a form. He has eyeballs, for God's sake. He has a nose, Of course, some dads don't have eyeballs, but he has eyeballs. He has he has senses. He's a sentient being, and I am his son. So there's all this talk, God, and he's the Supreme Father. Well, and we're the sons, right? But the Father has what the sons have, right? Because if the sons had what the Father has, or if the sons have have a particular thing that the Father doesn't, that means the sons are superior. In other words, I have a body, right? I have a mind, I have senses, but God doesn't. So that means I'm superior. I have something He doesn't have. So the idea is that Krishna is a person, but we cannot see Krishna at the present moment. So according to this particular book, Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives a description of what Krishna looks like, of what God looks like. And according to that description, a form is carved, and then the idea is that then we could see Krishna. So we decorate Krishna with the flower garlands, offer incense like that. So it's a way that we could see God. So it's not that it's just some random speculated form, but it's very clearly described, and there's many reasons. Makes sense. So one time, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, I think he's from Germany actually, he went to India, and in India there's so many temples, and of course, everybody thinks of Hinduism, they think of all these millions of gods, Ganesh and Shiva and all these different gods. which, yeah, that is explained. They're there. But above those demigods is the supreme one, absolute truth, Krishna, God. So within India, there are all the demigods of the temples, and this friend of Srila Prabhupada went there, and he went to all these different temples. So he saw, and he saw these demigods. They're holding swords and this and that and so many things, and they're kind of engaged in work, you could say. So then he went to a Krishna temple, and in the Krishna temple, he went in there and he saw Radha and Krishna, and he saw Krishna was playing a flute, right? So he said, "Oh, this is God." Anyone remember why he thought that? Yeah. Yeah, because he only enjoys, he doesn't work, right? If we were God, we wouldn't work. That'd be the first thing we would get rid of, right? Working 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And if someone says, "Oh, I like doing that," then I'll say, "Okay, well, I'll give you. If I was to theoretically give you, millions of dollars, I'd like to see if you would hold your job." Probably not. You'd probably, travel here, travel there, take boat rides here, boat rides there, cruises, and fly around the world and stuff like that. Eat this, eat that. So yeah, that's the point that in the purport it said vilas, the pastimes, the activities of God, the activities of Krishna. One should hear about them. So yeah, we're hearing about people's activities. We talk about people's activities. Oh, he went here, he did this. She went here, she did this. And they got together, they broke up. And we're always hearing about people, right? Oh, he left, he died. Oh, he got married. Oh, they had a child, or whatever. And you can only do that so long because ultimately it's kind of boring, But if we hear the pastimes of Krishna, then we could read them over and over and over again and not become bored. I mean, if we're becoming more spiritually awake, we won't become bored. So they're there for us to meditate on and read and like that. And alongside with that, the spiritual master, he also has pastimes. He has the lila. So it's not the guru has the lila, the spiritual teacher has the lila. The great saints, they're considered to have lilas or pastimes or spiritual activities within this world. So it's actually very important that we study the lila of Srila Prabhupada. And there's many books that explain that lila, because if we don't, it's kind of okay, we're focusing on Krishna and this, which is good, but what about the person who brought us Krishna, right? He is the one who brought us Krishna, really. I mean, him through his, and also through his representatives. So it's required to also study his life, and to get a good idea of who he is, because we may have like Sureshwara was here and he was saying, Prabhu, and he was saying fictitious Prabhupada, like who he, like, I don't know, Santa Claus Prabhupada or something. And the 5 process, devotional service, chanting, the holy names, associating with devotees. Hearing the Bhagavatam, decorating engaging in deity worship, and to live in a place like Vrindavan or Mathura. These 5 items alone can help a devotee achieve the highest perfectional stage. So, Prabhupada would say that the temple is Vaikuntha, right? It's a place of no anxiety. It's a spiritual world. And devotees are actually supposed to upkeep that mood and that standard. Which you could say is based on service to Krishna and hearing and chanting about Krishna. Like in New Vrajadam in Hungary, Shivaram Swami's there, and he has a whole bunch of devotees there and everything. And on Janmashtami, they have a really big celebration. So Shivaram Swami wakes up 1 a.m. in the morning, something like that, sleeps a few hours in the night, and he gets up and he's stringing garlands, and he goes on the altar and dresses Radha Shyama and the deities of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. And for hours they're chanting Hare Krishna in front of the deities, right? And they're cooking this and cooking that, and they're decorating, and I was listening to a lecture by Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he was saying that he was there at the time, and he said that he was sleeping in a room, nearby, and he said that like 2 a.m. in the morning, on the loudspeakers you hear this, Jai Radha, for whatever. So there's this he's like really pumping this, mood of everybody's enthusiasm. And also there, interesting enough, is what he's doing is he's creating the different holy places. He's creating the different holy places that are in Vrindavan, the original Vrindavan, whatever it is, Radhakund, this place, that place. He's creating it with on the farm property. So, so that's a really good idea, actually. And that's actually Srila Prabhupada's idea. Because in New Vrindavan, he said, West Virginia, he said he wanted 7 temples. And those were the original Goswami temples, with the deities and everything. So, and he wanted Radhakund and Govardhan and shit like that. So he wanted it to be like that. So New Vrindavan, it's a New Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada, this also was created within the Brihat Bhagavatam Rita, where Krishna was in Dwarka and feeling separation from Vrindavan, and Vishvakarma, he created this whole Nava Vrindavan, which is a new Vrindavan. And Mother Yashoda was there, all of his associates were there, and of course, anyways, it's kind of an interesting scene. You read that, right? It's quite interesting. So Prabhupada was familiar with all these, books and different ideas. So yeah, that's the point, to understand that, yes, this is New Govardhan Dham, and Krishna's here, it's the Dham, and try to create that atmosphere. Because it's a holy place, it's a tirtha. It's not just like, it's just like an ordinary building, and it's just, we're here in SanDiego, and it's an ordinary building, and my name's Joe, type of thing, and I wash the pots here or something. It's just, this is like New Govardhan, this is transcendental, tirtha, holy place. You may be washing the pots, but they're, Radharani's pots, Krishna's pots, and this is, like that. So that's important to try to develop that. And just by living in a tirtha, holy place like this, chanting Hare Krishna like we do, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, and all these different things, if we do them with utsaha, with enthusiasm, with sincerity, really trying, and in a mood of like honesty, then we will gradually make progress more and more and more, even though it may be imperceptible progress. So, does anyone have any questions or comments? You have a question? Brenson?
I was thinking,
His name's Brenson. My name is Bronson.
yeah, that's pretty well. And, I remember exactly what maybe you can help me with people that have such strong faith that no matter, I guess, what they're encountering, whether they're released.
Yeah, that's true.
Can
That,
you tell a little more on that?
yeah, that was referring to, it's called like very high level, you could say devotee, or very high, God realized person has that. But I mean, we could also have that whatever, to some degree, that whatever happens to us, we don't lose our faith. But unfortunately, people lose their faith. It happens regularly. Like, for example, if a mother and a daughter, if their family member, the mother's son, and then the daughter's or whatever, you know, they're praying, oh, please bring my husband back, please bring my son back, like that, from the war. And then they come back, and I mean, they don't come back, you know, they die in the war. Oh, and they forget God, you know, he didn't fulfill my desire, he didn't fulfill my prayer. Yeah, yeah, they have a loved one that passed away in a car crash or something. Oh, why'd that happen? You know, there's so many ways to lose faith. Or like the communists, right? They would drive up in their big truck full of bread and said, "Oh, pray to God and see if He gives you any bread," you know. And then they would pray, and then, you know, no bread would come because of all the communist government had all the bread, right? And then they'd say, "Oh, pray to us," and then, you know, "Oh, please give us." Oh, and the communist guys would give them bread and say, "Oh, okay, oh, there's no God." So, and then people, interesting enough, they'd actually, not everybody, I'm sure, but they'd just say, "Oh, these, you know, fools, they have all the bread," whatever. But some people lose their faith. Oh, yeah, you know.
I think no matter what.
But the flour comes from God, the, you know, the grain to make the bread.
Oh, I think that no matter what, who you are, if you're going to lose faith at one point in time, regardless how strong I'm thinking, because on my own theory, because I believe that's a strict process on your faith. And if you stay with your faith consistently, then you would grow arrogant with it to think that, oh, well, I'm not going to lose my faith. I have it, which would not make you as much humble, or as humble as most, or some. So I think that it's also a strict process to make your faith stronger, and it also lets you know that you're not in control at the same time, that God is in control, and He's more powerful than anything. So no matter what, you might lose at that time, but it's like a father disciplining you at the time. You're not understanding why or what's going on, and you're probably discouraged and sad and upset because of the situation you're going through. But once you make it through, if you do, some people don't, a lot of people don't, but if you make it through it, then it's like, you know what, hey, now I understand the reason of the whole lesson, and now that I'm through this, I believe a lot more, my faith's a lot stronger, and now I understand why my Father was showing me discipline to give me self-discipline to where I could be stronger for more experiences and further in life that's more to come, or that's further in life. So I think that losing your faith is a mandatory thing. I think it's supposed to happen, you know, to me. And not only just with faith, with life in general. I think everything around that, to a sense, is kind of has a similar situation or a similar idea of it. Like, you know, if you are jogging 3 miles a day, and you might not be able to run the 3 miles at first. You eventually run, you know, a half a mile break, and then take a rest, and then, you know, so forth, so forth. Eventually you get your 3 miles to it. And then it's kind of with the faith process, you know, you get it, you lose it, you get it, you lose it, but, you know, I don't think you ever gain it completely. I believe it just grows stronger as it goes throughout your life, and that's my understanding of it.
Yeah. Yeah, people go through ups and downs, that's true. Faith, crisis, probably most people. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think for that, I appreciate that.
All right. Grantrad Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
waiting, maybe an hour almost.
Gonna be waiting a while. They just left at 8.
Yeah, something like that.
Even then, maybe 7:45.
Hey, somebody's leaving the door wide open. Whoever got pocket money. Oh.
I'm surprised.
Did he move out officially, or did he just disappear? No, he just disappeared.
Who did?
LIFE?
Oh. Uttama Adhikara.
Put it on.
Maybe I
Mercy.
No one exalted enough around here to put it on such an exalted devotee as yourself. So yeah, do it. So put it on.
Oh, that smells so nice.